Chris Mannix. Listen to Chris Mannix on NBC Sports Radio, the 24/7 live sports talk network, which you can listen to at NBCSportsRadio.com. Chris, of course, out of Boston, where it's snowing just like it is here. Chris, what's happening, pal?
Well, one of those days where, going outside seems like a worse and worse idea by the minute. So it's all right.
I'll tell you, it's getting a little nasty out there as we're getting ready to get into the All-Star break. Got nasty last night in New York with Charles Oakley and the Knicks, and obviously there's a whole heck of a lot going on with that story there. But kind of a culmination, Chris, I guess, of a microcosm of that franchise, of what is happening. Here in Philly, criticized for being an embarrassment to the league for a while. They're kind of coming out of that, but the Knicks have kind of taken over the black cloud, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, I said to somebody the other day that, this is before the Oakley stuff, that the Knicks are someday going to be a functional franchise. I just don't know if I'm going to be alive when it actually happens. I mean, this is, going on almost 2 decades of futility in New York, and this Oakley thing was just a sign that rock bottom, we may not be at rock bottom right now. We thought we were with Derrick Rose abandoning the team earlier last month. We thought we were with Phil Jackson, subtweeting Carmelo Anthony this week, but now the Oakley incident shows that there's still depths that the Knicks can actually sink to. And I'm not trying to absolve Oakley of any wrongdoing here. He certainly he did a lot of things wrong in that situation, but for the Knicks to release that statement and end it with saying we hope Oakley gets the help he needs or whatever it was.
Yeah,
I mean, that was pathetic. Don't play armchair psychologist in a situation like that. Don't disrespect a guy like that, because I'll tell you what, if you do an opinion poll in New York right now, 99% of the people are going to side with Charles Oakley, and James Dolan's family is going to side with him.
Truth. I know a lot of people last night were saying, good for Oakley. We wanted you to go after Dolan. It is a bizarre story. I guess he was released from jail today. We'll see what happens. Chris Mannix with us while we got you. Chris, stories, a lot of rumors Monday about Okafor, New Orleans. It kind of seems like it's simmered down a little bit, but is that a good sign for the Sixers? Did you like, if you're a Sixers fan, did you like hearing his name and some teams and some actual, pieces involved?
Well, I think if you're a Sixer fan that wants to see assets returned for Okafor, you'd like to see more teams involved than just New Orleans, because New Orleans, they're as desperate as Philadelphia is, probably more so because Dell Demps and Alvin Gentry, I mean, if they don't make the playoffs, their jobs are going to be in jeopardy. So, I don't know that they believe Okafor is the answer, but he certainly would be an upgrade over what they have right now in Omer Asik. Now, the question or the sticking point, I think, with this deal or potential deal is going to be that first-round pick. Teams across the league, Mike, they don't want to give up a 2017 first-round pick. The 17 draft is expected to be incredibly deep, and if the Okafor thing doesn't work out, well, the Pelicans would have just given up a lottery pick in that draft. So an 18 first-round pick might get the job done from New Orleans' perspective, but for Philadelphia,
right,
you want another asset in that draft. I mean, they could have their pick, the Lakers pick, and another lottery pick in a draft that's loaded at the top. I mean, that would be just that would be a coup de grace for the Colangelos in making a deal for Okafor.
Yeah, that's a great point, because if you're the Sixers, you're desperately trying to get another pick, and not desperately, they have some, but they want the pick to be in this draft. And if you're the Pelicans, you want it to be next year. But if the Sixers at this point, what is fair value for Okafor for you? If they got a first round pick, any first round pick, or is that a loss for them? Meaning, this guy was the 3rd pick in the draft. It's not like he's a bum.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any first-round pick would be a win there. I mean, you're right. He is the 3rd pick, and there were other guys that could have taken at that slot. I understood the selection at the time. You take the best player on the board, and you kind of hope for the best there on out, but it just hasn't panned out that way. I think you got to at least try for a middle-of-the-pack kind of first-round pick and maybe some sort of young player, young piece that can come off your bench and be productive. The Sixers obviously have holes everywhere, especially in that backcourt. If you can get somebody that could be a rotation player for you in addition to a draft pick for Okafor, it's not a win, but at the end of the day, you can kind of look yourself in the mirror and say you got the best you could for him.
What if they were able to – there was some talk about Drew Holiday. I would think that would be a huge win for them, no?
Yeah, that's why it's not going to happen. That's what that would be. I can't see New Orleans trading Holiday back to Philadelphia. I mean, he hasn't been perfect for them, but that's just way too much to give up for Okafor.
Do you have any yourself conspiracy theories with the Embiid stuff? He plays on a random game, hasn't played since. He scores 32 points that night. Now he does. It's been 7 straight, 9 out of 10. People here are thinking, well, are they trying to lose games? Do you have any thoughts, or are they just being the Sixers extra cautious?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought for a couple of months now, and talking to people in Philadelphia, well before this. I mean, cautious wasn't even the word they were using. Like it's like Donald Trump's extreme betting. This is going to be extreme caution exercised by Philadelphia when it comes to Embiid. I don't blame them one bit. I mean, the last thing they want to do is roll this guy out there for more games or more minutes and have him at the end of the season, of a meaningless season, largely, re-injured that foot. I mean, this time next year, we're not going to be talking about this. This time next year, he is going to be playing, 40 minutes a night on some nights and playing in back-to-backs. It's just year one, not only of coming back from a foot injury, but of his professional career. I know people are impatient, and there's certainly an outside chance Philadelphia can get into the playoffs this year. But long-term, what Philadelphia is doing is absolutely the right thing to do.
He's Chris Mannix, NBC Sports Radio, the 24/7 Live Sports Talk Network, NBCSportsRadio.com. Thanks, Chris.
You got it, man.